the most important source of conviction is our research. We are doing research on innovation that I believe no one else is doing out there, at least in the way that we're doing it. We're trying to figure out the learning curves associated with new technologies, how fast the costs will fall, and how quickly these new technologies will grow. So the source of the conviction is our research. And the second thing we have going for us, I think, we're the closest you'll find to a venture capital firm in the public equity markets. And I think our asset retention, many people think we've seen huge outflows. Our asset retention has been remarkable. And I think it is because we give our research away, unlike most, and we are educating our clients about these amazing growth opportunities. And I think especially, well, it's all demographics, but especially the younger investor sees the ground shifting underneath our feet. And, they've stuck with us. Just one other thing I'd like to do is put into perspective. So with this 5-year investment time horizon, we have delivered north of our minimum hurdle rate of return, which is 15% over a 5-year period. We are down 60% since the peak. However, from the bottom of the coronavirus crisis to February of 21, we were up 358%. So it's really important to put that in perspective.
And that's a core part of your investment philosophy, right? It's this long-term time horizon, right?
Yes.
There are different types of investing. There's short-term investing, there's long-term investing, and it's up to the investor in many respects to be able to diversify and balance their portfolio accordingly.
Yes, and there's a very interesting thing that's happened in the last year. As our performance was down 60%, if you look at how innovation was priced in the private markets, over the last year, up 20%. Think about that. What's wrong with that picture? And I think what's going on is investors in the public markets have defaulted to benchmarks, which are all about the past. They're selling our stocks. Our stocks are not in benchmarks. And we're proud of that because our stocks are the future, and they will make up the benchmarks in the future.
Which brings me to a really interesting point, something that you told me in the green room and feeds into the ARK philosophy and your 5 innovation platforms. You said something which I don't want to say it for you, but I want to give you the opportunity to really underscore it today.
I think if I understand what you're referring to, I believe that this shift towards passive and benchmark-sensitive investing, meaning, mimicking indexes, which is kind of mindless, is very backwards-looking. The stocks at the top of these indexes are there because of what has happened historically. I believe this is the most massive misallocation of capital in the history of mankind, especially, I don't know can you hear me? Because that's a punchline. This is one of the most massive misallocations of capital in the history of mankind. We have ahead of us the most magnificent opportunities because of the massive amount of innovation that's taking place, and yet the fear has pushed investors back to their benchmarks. And I think,
not all investors, right? You told me you have nearly $1 billion in inflows since January 17th.
Yes, thank you. And that's in our flagship fund, $1 billion in inflows. And I think many people are saying, innovation solves problems. We now have a lot more problems. That 358% increase during the coronavirus is because right before it, we were slammed. We were slammed because of risk aversion. Once again, everybody going back to their benchmarks. And then everybody woke up one day and said, wait a minute, innovation is going to help us solve these problems. And we certainly were beating that drum. And anyone who got in near that low had a tremendous ride. I feel we're back there again. And now with the Ukraine-Russian issues, again, we have many more problems. And certainly when it comes to oil, This is only going to accelerate the push towards electric vehicles and autonomous transportation.
Which is good for your number one holding, Tesla.
Tesla.
Right?